Hey, legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Massive episode today. We're going to cover some Olympic stuff because honestly, that is everything everyone's talking about right now. But we are going to get into footy also. Essendon, Sydney, big going on there. We're going to cover that. And then also, with this big week, you could almost say it's someone's 400th game, which is a huge accomplishment. We talk about that and much more. Obviously, Scott Pendlebury playing his 400th game against the arch rival Carlton. That's a big one. We're going to dive into that one and much more starting on this episode. Starting now. All right, legends, plenty to cover as we mentioned in this podcast. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. Brayden, welcome.
I am disgusted,
what?
Mason.
I hate your negativity at the beginning of these things. It's always every week. You're just firing off on someone.
No, I'm throwing a curveball in this one because I was driving home late last night and I put on the radio, as I do, just to unwind and forget about my life. And Isn't that what everyone does? And I was driving home and I felt like smashing my car into the side concrete walls on the highway because I heard a song on the radio that did not meld well with my ears. I felt like scratching my eardrums out and stabbing them in with pencils.
Was it Nickelback?
Hey, I feel like everyone lies about Nickelback.
They talk smack, but they know every word is.
To say sorry. Actually, someone was saying last week, I think it's just because you're a footballer and the podcast is named after you, but they were like, oh, I loved hearing Mason sing. That was great. And then they were like, Brayden, never, ever sing again. But I'll tell you what. I could do a better job than Katy Perry's going to do at this year's grand final because I heard her new song, whatever the crap it was called, and it was that bad. They phoned it in. They would have wrote that thing in like 30 seconds, and it was like, it's the worst thing. And her new album's getting like just absolutely smashed. Like if this single, they normally pick out the best single and they release that. If this is the best of what's on this album, oh my goodness. And no wonder we got her for the grand final. It's like
cheap, baby.
We don't get them when they're on the way up. We get them when they're coming back down. And oh my
God.
Close
to dead.
Yeah, so they're playing this and I don't know. I will say I don't see it banging at the MCG.
It's not a catchy tune, I don't think.
It's not going to go off at the MCG grand final day. No one's going to be singing that. It's that bad.
Everyone's going to be singing Roar. That's all we want to hear.
Yeah.
Surely.
I've heard a couple of segments on the radio and they're like, oh, what's your favorite Katy Perry song? And like, no one can think of many pop into mind. What's the one with Snoop Dogg in it?
I don't know, the one with the sharks and stuff, jumping around and singing and dancing. Yeah, that one. I do love my favorite quote, or probably line of Katy Perry, and this is a word for word line in one of her songs, is, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Drifting through the wind, wanting to start again.
What are you doing?
Who's writing these things? There's someone just driving home, like you're saying, depressed as hell, listening to the radio, seeing a plastic bag rolled across, going, I've actually got a great line for that in the next single.
Oh, it's shocking. I don't know. Like, normally you get ghostwriters to make your songs better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, she's, I can't really talk trash. She's actually a Texas-born native, so she's one of me.
Makes a lot of sense.
One of us.
That makes a lot of sense. All right,
we're going to go to my clanger. That's your clanger, right?
That's my clanger.
Harvey Thomas. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend. Jeez Louise. An absolute open goal. Nothing between him and the goal square, except for Jesse Hogan, maybe, who kind of got in the way whenever he tried to kick the goal. It couldn't have been out, what they call it, out the back or something, the goose or
Joe
whatever.
The Goose.
Yeah, Joe the Goose kind of thing. Yeah, that thing the umpires and, no, not commentators say all the time. Joe the Goose, and he's out the back, and he kicks it into his own teammate. There's no one else there. Like, surely you do the unselfish act and you just give the handball, let him kick it? No. It gets a bit selfish, goes for the goals, and it wasn't a pretty sight.
I feel like
it wasn't a pretty sight.
Jesse Hogan has taken a lot of one-on-one marks and not a lot of spilling to ground. He wins something like 45% of one-on-one contests.
Are you serious?
So when you're a small forward and you're running, Jesse Hogan's not giving you many crumbs to eat, so you got to just take what you can take.
He's probably going, Jesse, you're a bit selfish taking so much from us.
That's crazy for that one-on-one stat, eh? He just marks.
That's absurd. Well, he also plays deepest, which is the easiest one-on-one spot.
Yeah, so you would do the same if you were Or do you play deepest?
I never play deepest because I'm the guy that stands there and they kick to me and everyone jumps on top of me and then we go from there to the deepest, which is a one-on-one out the back.
You're the trampoline.
I'm essentially the Empire State Building that's getting jumped on by King Kong.
Can I ask you, just because I don't know the answer, but we can do this after the fact. What do you think a Joe the Goosey is? Like, where did that saying come from? Where did it originate and what does it mean originally?
I have no idea. Who's Joe?
Is Joe the Goose?
Who is Joe?
Is Joe the Goose or is Joe the Goose's owner?
I feel like, what's the step in rugby? They call it like a goose step?
Yeah, the goosey. The goose step.
Maybe it's like something to do with that where you kind of, I don't know, you fake one thing, you actually do another.
Joe the Goose.
I don't know. Joe the Goose just makes no sense to me. I don't know. We're going to have to do some researching or something. But this is Australia, right? We just make shit up. Let's be honest. Half the stuff you guys say, we say. I can say we now because I'm one of you. Yeah. One of us. It doesn't make sense whatsoever.
As you wear your USA beanie. We'll get to who you're following in the Olympics. We'll get to the results. Carlton, big loss to Port Adelaide at home, which is pretty crazy. Yikes. North Melbourne, hung in there for a while against Geelong, but eventually Geelong went over the top. Gold Coast, first loss at home this year in the Q Clash. Brisbane on fire. St Kilda, massive win, both on the scoreboard.
I'm so confused.
And just in general against Essendon. Where are they at? Melbourne, big loss.
They lost by 2.
Big loss at home. Close game, but they needed that one.
Yeah.
Freo eventually got over the top of West Coast. It looked very dicey in the first half, and West Coast beat them earlier in the year, so didn't know what was going to happen there. Collingwood finally got a win on the board against Richmond. Sydney, that's probably the craziest loss of the round against Western Bulldogs, who are just in absolute form.
At Sydney too.
Adelaide went down to Hawthorn, who are just bullying teams at the moment. That's crazy. So let's jump straight into the hot topics.
Yep.
And it doesn't get much hotter at the moment than the Olympics.
Huge.
So we'll start not in footy. You're wearing your USA beanie. I got to ask you off the top, who are you following? Or are you just taking both sides?
I'm following Australians, but I'm like split between the two, right? So like gymnastics, Australia doesn't really have like a gymnastics team doing that. So like USA, right? Simone Biles, ridiculous. I was learning a bit more about her and what she's doing, and like she is incredible. If you watch her do what she does and then you watch the competitors do the same thing like on the floor, she is doing stuff that just, it makes the other people look childish. It looks like they're not even in the same league or it's like some amateur league before. I'm like, it is insane. She's got, out of the 5 competition things they do, so like mats, bars, that beam kind of thing, all that stuff.
Who does the ribbon?
Will Ferrell. Snoop Dogg. I think 4 out of the 5, she has individual like tricks, I guess stunts that you probably call it.
Yep.
Stunts she does that are named after her because no one else in the history of gymnastics has been able to do it.
That's wild.
And then I think this one, if she debuts something on the bars, she's essentially got one in every single category named after her because no one else in like the world has ever been able to like do it in a competition.
That's crazy.
And like she is blowing my mind. I just kind of always like, yeah, she's a freak athlete. She's hella good at what she does. And then I found out more of the details of kind of what she's doing, and I was like, oh, this is like a once in a lifetime talent, which is pretty cool to say.
Yeah, that's crazy. What are you thinking of a move that you can pull out on the footy field that
she's married, mate. Calm down.
That they can call the Cox. Oh, look, he's whipped out the Cox.
Oh, the Cox. He's got jumped on by 7 people this time. No.
New records.
Yeah. It's the unselfish broken rib and busted head. Also, big fan. I got to shout out Jess Fox, flag bearer for Australia, won gold the other day, and credit to her. It's a lot of pressure being in that scenario, and she, had this heat where I think she was like 8th, I want to say, and then she did really well in the last one, but it's because she was 8th. She was like the first one to go, and she had to wait for all the other competitors to go, so it was like a real nervous experience. But she won gold. Congrats to her. Absolutely amazing. Great representative for Australia over there at the Olympic Games, and just want to give a massive shout out to her. Pretty cool achievement, and it's something every Australian should be proud of.
What's the difference between a kayak and a canoe?
A kayak and a canoe. A canoe has more than one person, I think, and it's a bit longer.
Oh, there you go. Who won gold in the canoeing?
I don't know. I don't think they've competed yet. But I think Jess's sister is competing in another kind of water sport. that is like kayak or canoeing, but in a different type of it.
Talented
Which is pretty
family.
cool. Yeah,
Talented
very
family.
talented. Also, she apparently speaks French.
Well, there you go.
Learning a lot of these.
Learning heaps.
Had a real late
Now,
night last night.
I want to learn something else about this bloke that retrieves the swimming cap.
Oh my gosh, this was one of my favorite moments. Probably the funniest moment I would say so far of the Olympic Games. A man who is, I don't know if he's just like on the side as a spectator or what, but he essentially gets called down to the pool for an emergency, right? There's a swimming cap that has managed to come off someone's head or something and float down to the bottom of the pool. And this is a priority for some reason. I have no idea. I can't imagine it would affect anyone's time in their swimming. But the man does what he has to do. And what he's there for is to take his shirt off, take his pants off, go straight into his jocks, strut around the pool, let the crowd get into it, dive headfirst in, grab the cap, give it a twirl, and get it out of there. It was a really lovely moment because everyone obviously, as soon as he got out of the pool, was just, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well done. You absolute legend. He had real bright jocks on too.
That's so
It wasn't just like black. It wasn't just like white. Can you imagine if it was white? Oh,
imagine if he didn't wear jocks that day. You're in trouble. I think the same two questions that every listener would have on their mind right now. One, why wouldn't a swimmer just jump in and grab it?
And how cold was the pool?
Third question. I just want to know what his rig's like. Good rig?
Yeah, he's an older fella. I would say you're right. Yeah, he's probably involved in swimming in some capacity, I'm sure. I did find it weird that the people that swim didn't go in and get it, but maybe they want to stay dry for some reason. I don't know.
People
something. Surely, like, there was a lifeguard there, but the lifeguard didn't jump in to get it, which I was like baffled by. I was like, yo, this is your job.
Well, wouldn't it be embarrassing
It was way more entertaining.
if you dived in to save a swimming cap and someone drowned in the meantime? That wouldn't be great, would it? You got priorities.
Into the world, bro.
You got priorities. He knows what he's there for.
Do we want to talk about one more Olympic thing before we move on?
Yeah, because I like to bring this up every time the Olympics is on. The most iconic moment, like maybe probably doesn't edge Kathy Freeman's run, but it's very close second.
What do you got for him?
Eric the Eel.
Oh, the eel. I only learned about this recently, and it is one of the best stories ever.
It's fun to go back and watch because it's very inspirational. And it's very reminiscent of, who's the old bloke that was the ice skating? And Stephen Bradbury.
Bradbury.
Yeah. So
Bradman.
Bradbury.
No, Bradbury. Bradman's the cricketer.
Yeah.
99.96, everyone. I know my Australian knowledge.
Because that would have been on the citizenship
Move
test.
on.
But yeah, what were your impressions when you did see?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know, like I didn't understand probably what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I watched a bit of a documentary on him and like he was training in like a 20-meter hotel pool around guests. That's how he trained for the Olympic Games. He had never seen an Olympic-sized pool until he showed up at the Sydney Olympics. And he's like, wow, that's a lot bigger than I imagined. And it is quite daunting whenever you go up and you see how long the freaking pool is and all you've been doing is laps. And this guy, like, I didn't even know. He looked like he had borrowed someone's goggles and was like, jumped in. And he got there. And then on the way back, it kind of got a bit dicey. It kind of was like one of those things where I was like, I don't know. That lifeguard might be getting his paycheck paid today.
That's wild.
And credit to him. And I want to put this out there, though, because obviously in like 8 years, the Olympics are coming to Brisbane. They're doing that. Maybe the Gold Coast a bit too. I'm putting a petition out there to get Eric the Eel back. Give him a second go. Let him, like, better than I think the 2 minutes it took him to swim that. Let's give him a second go. You know, I just feel like from the Sydney Olympics to the next time the Olympics are in Australia, we need to see the evolution of the eel.
And we're 100% sure that Eric the Eel is alive.
Nope. This is very similar to the lightning strike guy we talked about.
Don't look up the lightning strike guy. Don't look it up.
We'll move on from that. But Eric the Eel, we're inviting you back to Australia. If there's anyone else in Equatorial New Guinea, I think is where he's from, and that's a swimmer, come along. We'll invite you to. We'll give you the whole pool to yourself again, buddy. And we'll have a whole crowd for you. I guarantee you we would be able to sell out tickets to watch you just dominate the pool, man.
I feel like that just gives me anxiety. Like I just get throwbacks to when I was like in the primary school swimming races and I knew how slow I was going.
Yeah.
And like in between strokes, you're looking up and everyone's just looking at you like, why is he thinking, what's he doing?
He's going the wrong way.
Imagine that, but on the scale that is the entire planet Earth is watching you. Swim this lap. Doing anything and that many people are watching you.
Insane.
Oh, and you won out.
There was 3 there, and then the other 2 had like a false start. And they're like, oh no, clear the pool. Clear the pool for the guy that's never seen an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And let him have as much space as possible.
Which if you're lining up next to Eric the Eel and you're like, oh, he's got me beat, you're definitely doing the false start. You're not going to get beaten by Eric the Eel.
That was actually smart of him. Eric, you need to step your game up. What if he does that in Brisbane? He goes, oh, sorry, false started. Learned my lesson the hard way.
They're like, oh, he's been training in a 20-meter pool, apparently. I've never seen one. And I want to ask you this. What sports, because they keep adding sports to the Olympics, all these crappy ones. Skateboarding, pretty cool. I don't mind skateboarding. Breakdancing. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Something different.
Yeah, we're starting to get, it's a pretty slippery slope.
Yeah.
So I want to add in some crapper sports. No, what sports would you add to the Olympics?
Well, flag football is coming to the U.S. Olympics, which is interesting because it's a very American sport, NFL, to be having that as an Olympic sport. Unique. I think the obvious ones are like cricket, AFL 9s, like rugby's already in it. I'm trying to think of like some, like maybe frisbee golf.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be sick, man. Have you seen some of the throws I do? That'd be insane.
Yeah.
I think that's like a very skilled thing that's unique and different. That would be kind of cool to it. But
there's a few of those golfs. The soccer golf?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Soccer golf's nice.
What about
cool.
the soccer volleyball?
Dude, yes.
That's
the guys are like doing like capoeira or whatever it is and like kicking the ball over. That is insane, man. That's like straight up Brazil's winning that every year.
Yeah, that sucks. We need to pick a sport where we can compete and it can't be drinking.
Actually, that's beer pong. That's a way better sport. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I reckon that would be the most followed Olympic event in the history of the Olympics. If you said, you know what? We're doing what's called the Beer Olympics. Why don't you just do that alongside? Why hasn't Barstool figured this out?
Isn't that like the Ocho games? What's that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we should be doing that. It's like during COVID, everyone did like the family games of like blowing like through a straw and trying to get something to the other side and the quickest. I don't know.
They do that.
Shit, marble races and everything else.
They do the like Olympics up in Nimbin.
Oh gosh, I'm sure that was no drug testing up there, right?
That was it. Yeah.
No asada or water.
You got to run away with 2 buckets of product, and you got to run away from like the police that are chasing you and stuff. They like
is this a real thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I'll go check it out.
That's probably similar, but we weren't thinking that. I'm thinking like pickleball or something.
Pickleball's lame. Nah, I'm kidding. Pickleball's cool. I'll give you that.
Anyway, not AFL.
People are going to be hating me in the comments. I'm like, oh, pickleball, don't do that.
You can't say AFL in Australia. Everyone gets all shitty that you try to share their sport.
How dare they?
Let's jump into this one because everyone's talking about it. The dead seagull that dropped from the sky
dive bombed
in the Collingwood-Richmond game. Where were you when the seagull dropped from the sky? And what are your conspiracies on it?
I legit did not see it during the game. I only saw it whenever you showed me it. And this thing was wild. Like, it wasn't like a floated down. It was head first coming for the turf, man. Like, I don't know what it hit or what happened. I reckon it was assassination, Tim. I'm just throwing it out there. It missed. It had clipped a wing. And that thing went straight south. But no, it was absurd. And then the bird just kind of like got up, was like, nah, concussion protocols, no such thing. Let's go. Let's move on. Just kind of floats off and does it himself. I don't know, just flies around the MCG again, annoying the shit out of people.
So we saw the seagull fall from the sky. Did we have eyes on Scott Pendlebury?
Did he?
Is he just the bird killer, or is he?
Maybe he was the assassination guy.
He's like, I gotta go. I'll be back.
I'll be back. You know, he did get subbed in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's on the back of the bench or not.
No.
But maybe there's some question marks around that. I can't confirm or deny, Brayden. I will say.
He's sitting at the back of the bench and he's like puffer jacket and there's just blood on his face. Where'd you go? Oh, bathroom.
Bathroom? Toilet break?
Anyway, let's not keep harping on this because Pendles needs to be available for his 400th. He can't be arrested.
Oh, before we move on from Seagulls, I want to bring up another Olympic thing. This is an Olympic themed podcast at the beginning. We're getting into footy, don't get me wrong. But we need to go back to Seoul. Seoul, South Korea, I want to say is where that's located. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
I can't correct you.
We'll
because
fact check that later. Anyway, Seoul in the Olympics, right? I saw this video because obviously I'm getting pumped through my social media, all this like Olympic stuff and the cauldron and Snoop Dogg holding this stuff and all this jazz happening. And there was this thing that popped up, and I thought it was one of the funniest, most crude, ridiculous videos at the same time. And it was in Seoul. They're doing the big lighting of the cauldron. There's two people there. There's like this massive kind of bowl they're about to light up to start the Olympic Games. And like awkwardly, as they're getting lifted up to this bowl, there's about 30 pigeons. And like they almost look like doves. They're like white doves essentially. And they're sitting on the outside of this bowl, as doves would in a public place. And they're sitting there with the flame going, well, what do? We're not going to wait for them to leave. So they put it in there, and I guess there's like, flame in there. There's some gas going in there, and they light that, and then all of a sudden the thing just goes poof, like it was like a barbecue that had been kind of running a little bit too long on the gas line, kind of puffs up and singes your eyebrows. It was essentially that, but all those doves got absolutely singed, and one of them flew off, and it looked like a rocket with the smoke trail coming from its ass out the joint. It was actually cooked,
That's
man.
so bad.
It was barbecued dove. It was the beginning of the Olympics in Seoul, and then there was a visual of it, and then it was like I could just hear in my head of like the producer in the background going, cut to something else, get to anywhere else but the dove's burning alive. And then he's like, okay, we'll cut to people just clapping in the stands. It's like, I don't know if that's better or worse. Like,
that's so bad. It reminds me of the Today Show one where the guy casts they're like, we'll give you one cast into this lake to see if he could catch this fish that was in the lake. Anyway, he starts reeling in, and a duck shoots across, and he hooks the duck, and he's reeling the duck, and he's turning around to the camera, and he's like, cut to something else, cut to something else, cut to something else. They cut back to the studio, and Carl Stefanovic says, "Peking duck, anyone?"
Peking duck, anyone?
So good. I could talk about Carl Stefanovic clips. Have you seen the one? The one with Carl Stefanovic sits down with
the Gandhi, the Gandhi.
Carl Stefanovic sits down with the Dalai Lama.
Sorry, the Dalai Lama.
And he says the Dalai Lama walks into the pizza restaurant, and he says, "Can you make me one with everything?" And the Dalai Lama looks off to his translator, nods and looks back, and he's like, I knew it wouldn't work.
What? Is this real?
This is all
He
happened.
legit said that on live television to the Dalai Lama.
He tried to tell the Dalai Lama a joke. He said, you go into a pizza restaurant and you ask one with everything.
That is the most Australian thing I've ever heard.
Just go straight over his head. Anyway.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Lost in translation.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next thing. Did Harry Mackay play this week?
I want to bring this up. This isn't like, we can't say anything about this because we're not doctors, but we did speak about Harry Mackay playing out the game, passing his HIA, not concussed, and then unfortunate. We put that to one side, and then through two incidents that aren't related in any way, shape, or form, he was out late sick with illness before this game. So anyone thinking that those two things are related, probably not. No, they're not.
Yeah, let's move to the next thing anyway. So
we go straight into the derby, where 14 players were fined in the game, and if they all take early pleas, that's $21,875. They're just racking it up. The AFL.
That is, dude. The AFL is going to have a hell of a Christmas party at the end of the year.
Can you have too much money?
Do you reckon we could be invited to that party?
I think,
mate, they'd be over 100K now. Easy.
I think they will tell you the wrong location.
The 19th hole, Mason. That's where it's at.
Anyway,
they have yet to invite me to a Brownlow, something like that.
Yeah, true. Well, I don't know. They're raking in a lot of cash. I don't know about this system where, I don't know.
21,875. Was Zach Butters playing Perth last week?
He jumped the fence. He jumped the fence and ran out there.
He actually streaked. He's like, put another $5,000 on top of the tab.
Started ragdolling people. One of those isn't Harley Reid, but most fights were about Harley Reid.
Oh, really?
I feel
protecting
like
him.
He gets inside people's heads, but not intentionally. I don't reckon he's really out seeking.
He's got a bit of spunk to him. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one, whenever we played him last, he kind of bumped me after I took a mark, and I kind of looked at him. I just kind of started smiling. He's just like, he's a solid boy.
That's crazy.
But
Some of these,
he's got that confidence, a little bit of swag, and that's like, as a young fella, and that's going really well. I love it.
some of these kids coming through. So there's like him, who's obviously great. There's
The
like
whole Hawthorn team.
Nick Watson and all of that from Hawthorn and stuff. All these really young players with all this swagger. If firstly, in your early days, like year 1, year 2, are you thinking, speaking out, you're talking to the old players, telling them what to do, you're pushing them, shoving them,
Dude, no chance. I was sitting there in the corner, like trying to translate what the hell was being said. I mean, even to today, I feel like I'm just kind of like, they're like, oh, you're big fella, just go down the line, mate. Just block or do something, please.
It's pretty wild. I like it. I still think it's going to take a lot of Australians time to get up to speed with it, and clubs in general. Obviously it takes some kind of tick off for the coach to say that they're okay with it. I doubt Nick Watson's doing the ice in my veins and like they're taking photos with Guinea and all of that stuff if Sam Mitchell had an issue with it.
Yeah, but Sam Mitchell's like kind of a bit younger than most coaches probably in the league, so I think he gets it.
Yeah.
And also he's like, oh, if this is who my players are and this is like kind of, the environment they want to be in, it's like, okay, well, if he wants to go recruit, he's like, hey, we're having a good time. You can see it like out on the field. Like we're enjoying ourselves. Like you're going to have an enjoyable few years here if you sign with us. Like it's almost like a selling point too at times for this new generation of kids coming through. They're like, oh, wait, I can just be on social media and not get like berated by the media team and everyone else saying like, you can't do anything. You have to fit inside this box and be a robot. Oh, I can just be myself. Sick. Like I'm all down for that.
Yeah. I look at someone like Bailey Smith, who is out of contract, looking for somewhere to go reportedly, and he would slot straight into that. He actually did the ice in my veins. He was like one of the first guys to do it. So it is a good selling point and marketing point for some of these young, exciting players coming through. This one was brought up during the week from the GWS team, GWS Giants.
They're an AFL team,
They're the orange ones. Orange team.
They're your team, actually.
And I love them, so I don't need this because I know all of the players, their dates of birth, their height. I don't know their playing weight because we're not allowed to anymore.
That's not.
But they want to put players' names on the back of footy jumpers.
Yep.
Are you for or against that? I'm trying to think of the pros and cons of having players' names on the back of their jumper.
I'm all for it. Our warm-up tops have our names on the back of them. So, like, if you see us warm up, like, you can see it's like Big 46 and then Cox above it.
Yeah.
So, if you want to see, like, a visual what it looks like, just look at our kind of warm-up tops. And it actually it looks fine. I don't think it's, like, out of place. But I think there's this – I don't know why people hate it so much and have such a problem with it. Like, what's the downside to it?
Yeah. I don't even know if people hate it. They did it –
complain about someone knowing who they are.
They did it for a round or whatever, like, years ago. And I think it's great for, player recognition. If you got like kids going to the game and stuff, they're like, who's that tall as? Oh, it's Mason Cox. And then I think it's great for sales when you change jumpers and you change players' names and stuff. Like if I bought number 46 on the back of my jumper and then heaven forbid in 5-6 years when you retire, some spud comes through and starts wearing 46. I want him to know that I got the big Coxie's number on the back. I don't want to be associated with him. Yeah. Like it kind of cements that in a moment in time because you see a lot of that as well. You get it and a player gets traded away and someone takes his jumper number and stuff like that. So it's great for sales because like each time the new jumper comes out, you got to upgrade it. You got the name on the back and all of that stuff. You can't wear it forever because if they do move on, you got to buy the new thing. So that's a sales tactic.
It's maybe a controversial thing, but like, why do we have numbers? Has everyone ever thought about this? Like, why don't we just have something else? Like, would it be cool to have like I don't know, like have Jamie Elliott be like a zebra or something? I don't even know. Like, why do we have numbers? I know it's like a way of identifying players, but like surely just everyone knows their name. If you don't know their name, then like we can have another way to be able to see who they are.
For stats, you can see numbers big from ages away, and then you couldn't fit a full. Like imagine trying to fit Marcus Bontempelli like in big writing on a back, and then see it from ages away. You just see that he's number. What number is he, Harrow? Number 4. Everyone knows that. Good pass there. Now, because of that, this is a byproduct question that I had.
Yeah.
Should all players in the AFL wear protective headgear, helmets?
Oh, we're getting there. We are getting there. I think you see in the NFL now, like their preseason training camps and stuff, they have to wear kind of like a bubble helmet around their actual helmets. I don't know if you've seen
crazy. That's huge. It makes them look like bubble heads.
Massive, yeah. So there has been like precautions, obviously, and that's like one of the kind of leagues that I think a lot of leagues look to for advice and where they're going and how it's all happening. So if you look at that and the trend that's going that direction, like I think it actually will be probably required at some point in the future. I'm not sure when that point is going to be, but obviously with more information coming around, concussion and everything else, like it is going to be one of those things that's just a requirement. I think it takes, a few people to do it to like make it, not a stigma, and then like everyone starts doing it and it's like all part of it, right? It's kind of a weird thing though, because Australia doesn't like change. That's one thing I've realized. Like, you've worn the same sleeveless jumpers in the middle of winter for no reason. You've worn the same booty shorts that are short as hell during the middle of winter also. Like, you think at some point someone, and then like people get shit for wearing long sleeves. And it's like, you think at some point we would just go, oh yeah, it's freezing cold outside. Like that would probably be a lot more comfortable to wear long sleeves or wear like an undershirt underneath it or something like that. Or, wear longer shorts maybe. Like
the shorts thing, I don't know. What if you're rolling out there in cargo shorts or something?
Eddie Betts did it. Eddie Betts is wearing longer shorts. Why couldn't we all do that? I think the clubs just don't want to have to deal with a different size short and have to make something unique.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the helmet thing, I feel like people say that the head is sacrosanct, but then there's a heap of like exceptions.
If we're all wearing
from that.
helmets, we better be having a name on the back of our jumper because we're going to have no idea who's who.
Well, they go like the head's sacrosanct, oh, we should all wear helmets. Nah, but then we don't get to see their faces. And their faces, they're pretty and they market and they sell. So or do the helmets just not do enough?
I'll be honest, I didn't know, like Caleb Daniel wears a helmet all the time, right?
Yeah.
And for the longest time, if you were to walk past me on the street, I probably wouldn't have recognized him. Just because my picture of him was always with the helmet on because that's how I saw him in public since because it was always like on camera on the football field, right?
Yeah.
So for a long time, like I don't know, like I probably wouldn't have recognized him if he walked past me.
Yeah.
So I get that side of it. I do. But eventually I think we'll all have to wear helmets. I'll give it 15 years, Brayden.
15 years.
Just write that down. 15 years, we'll all be wearing helmets.
Okay. I've written that down. You get that, Harrow? Cool.
Yep. Oh, let's move on.
I want to pull this one out. I want to go into Simon Goodwin was cleared to coach on the weekend after spending 3 nights in hospital, which is pretty amazing. He copped an infection at the start of the week, and that required a IV drip.
Oof.
And they were saying that he was on the Zooms for all the meetings, didn't miss a single meeting.
Jeez.
I feel like that's one of those ones where miss a meeting, mate. Miss a meeting.
I mean, getting wins on the board for them, pretty important at the moment.
Yeah, but this is like the head sacrosanct, except for this, this, and this. It's like we care for our people except for when we need a bloody win. Like they had the Harry situation. We have the Jeremy Cameron situation. It's like we care for people, but we still put wins over everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how serious this was throughout those 3 days, but
3 nights in hospital.
It's obviously serious, but I mean, like he might have, been told you can't leave hospital for 3 days just in case like the worst happens, right? Like I think of some of my medical stuff and like you're not allowed to leave hospital for a certain amount just because you're going to need emergency care right away. So I don't know the situation with him, but I mean, he's a head coach and he loves his job, I'm assuming. So, he want to be involved in it and I get that side of it. But yeah, you do have to, there's a certain point where it's like, with anything with health, it's like there's serious and there's like stuff that's like life threatening that you go, oh, holy smokes, like I need to step away from football. And then there's other things where maybe you're in hospital and you're kind of like on a drip, but like you're just sitting around all day and you go, well, I might as well be in meetings, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know the details to it, but I think it's a sign that he does care.
Yeah.
And we care for you, Simon. Get healthy.
Yeah, get healthy, Simon. We'll jump into the big winners. None bigger than the Western Bulldogs,
Dude,
I
holy
think, this week.
smokes, man.
Travelled up to Sydney and starched the team that's on top of the ladder. And it's crazy, they're still a game and a half on top of the ladder, and they've lost 4 of their last 5. But we'll get to that. They are the Kingslayers, the Western Bulldogs. They've beaten Sydney, Carlton and Geelong in the last 3 rounds. Jamara Ugelhagen on fire again with 4 goals. And Adam Treloar, our boy Adam Treloar, 40-odd touches again. He just racks them up every single week.
Unsung hero.
And I feel like he must just watch that clip. No, actually, knowing him, he doesn't care at all. But there's some people out there that would be watching, I'll be one, I'll put my hand up, watching that All-Australian selection video that Fox put together. And no one mentioned his name one single time.
Really?
And he's been racking them up every single week. Last week he had 30 plus and kicked 3 goals against Geelong in Geelong. And
who's the Australian ruck this year? Brody Grundy?
yeah, probably not Adam Treloar. But are you just thinking about
Ruckman?
Yeah.
That's because that's a position I play.
Dustin
and it's
Cameron
the best position in all football.
DC's had a great year.
He has. Very underrated year. But
you probably just miss out because you're injured.
Yeah. That's the reasoning for sure.
Injuries, they get you.
That and they can't fit a jacket to make it big enough for me. That
I don't want to spend the money on the thread. Too much thread. Too much for the big rig.
Credit to Ads, though. I do want to give love to him because he's absolutely dominating. He's killing it. And credit to the Western Bulldogs because they are on a hot streak, you could say. And the very end of the year where it's necessary to be able to have a bit of momentum going to finals. We're going to talk about that with some other teams. But credit to Western Bulldogs, they're absolutely killing it at the moment.
Yeah, so you want to win games going into finals, apparently. That's a good sign.
Tell the rest of the ladder that.
Because we're getting into some of these. Port Adelaide, big win on the road because they definitely needed it, and it gives them that little bit of breathing room because they come up against the Sydney Swans in Adelaide, which is, a big...
it's a big game for both teams.
Big game for them, but Kenny Hinkley, he was, They sacked him the other week, and he's done what Ken Hinkley does every year, gets his team to finals. But, there's still a few games left to go. GWS on the road, another big win for them, getting over the line against Melbourne. Goody coaching from his deathbed in hospital. We look at them, and they're a team that is fine in form right now. Jesse Hogan is just dominating the competition. And Toby Green, who's been a bit down this season, is really finding form, and he's not only kicking goals, he's assisting. He's a lot of assists. Out of those 3, who are you picking for the biggest win of the week?
I'm going to go probably the Bulldogs. I think they've solidified the fact that they're
a good team.
Not just a good team, a team that's going to make a dent in finals for sure. I think you looked at 2 weeks ago, maybe people were going, maybe they'll make finals. I'm not really too sure kind of thing.
And we've seen it before. That's what people are saying. We've seen it before, but now there's
no question marks anymore. They're legit. So I think they're the big winners. Yeah, beating some of those top teams up there and doing it convincingly too is definitely a massive confidence booster for them going into finals.
It's got to be frustrating for their fans that it's like they always seem to leave their run really late. And even when they've made the grand final, they've done it from outside the top 4. Yeah. So they have to buck the trend of history to get there. But
make it interesting.
There's still a chance, top 4, and it's got to give you that much confidence that you've beaten 3 of the top 4 teams. If you're one of them. Now they just have to take on Freo. And another thing, last round of the year for them, they have to go to Ballarat to verse GWS.
Woof.
That's wild. I don't know who did that to them, but
that's so
and we'll give a shout out to the Hawks because we can't talk about the Bulldogs without talking about Hawthorn because they're probably the 2 most in-form teams in the comp, and they're fighting for a top 8 slot.
Yep. And top 8 might be top 4 pretty quickly. It's
pretty
the way some of the teams are losing in the top 4 at the moment. So
it's only in the top 4 right now. The super convincing team is obviously Brisbane. They're going to get Harris Andrews back because they sent Eric the Eel, Eric the Hipwood. They sent him back, and he was holding on for grim life. So they need to get Harrison Andrews.
Harris Andrews, the captain back
Harris
out there,
Andrews.
telling everyone Harris Andrews back out there telling everyone what to do. Let's go into the losers, biggest losers of the week.
And there's no bigger loser this week than the Essendon Football Club. It's rough because they've had a couple of bad losses, but this one, you go out there against Saints, who aren't a chance to make finals. You're playing at you're both home grounds.
Yeah.
And you get flogged by 50-odd points. It's just your fans rock up and expect more than that. And to have that dished up when finals are like well and truly on the line, they're clinging to a spot in the 8 when people thought they were a chance to finish in the top 4 at a stage only a couple of weeks ago. Very interesting. And how did you see that one?
Yeah, it is. It was a thrashing over the weekend. That's not what their fans would want to see. I saw this video of a fan throwing a scarf from the stands out onto the field at one point. They were not happy. But the interesting thing is, like, Essendon not really riddled with injuries. I think Ridley's the only, sorry, the pun, but Ridley's the only one I think that is probably in their best 23 right now. He's got a little hip injury from the weekend, I want to say. But the rest of it's just them. They just need to find form. So I can understand as Essendon fans. I feel like Essendon fans are, they're hesitant to get ahead of themselves, you could say, maybe, like with their past experiences, maybe.
Yeah. They're just traumatized.
They're very traumatized. They have some psychology issues they need to work out, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I still think they're a really good team. They're in that kind of mix of people just trying to find form going into the back of the year. And if they can do it in the next few weeks, we can have this conversation and be on the other end of Essendon's a really good team. So yeah, they've shown their best and like that they can, get into finals and be a finals team that can do damage. But right now, they just need to get back to their best, really, and to better ways than what they're playing right now. I think is a pretty easy statement they would probably agree with.
Yeah, it reminds me of a couple of my favorite talkback calls of all time. The bloke that was a Richmond supporter and put his membership in the microwave.
Oh gosh.
And the guy that called up and said that he spewed all over himself. Oh, that's...
I'll let you play that one back in a clip.
I love some of those. But we actually just had a podcast come through here the other day, and they said one of the best money-making ventures you could come up with is selling tickets to people, to fans, to have the opportunity to come in and spray the team.
What?
So, Fly, you've had a massive loss.
Oh.
Fly goes, all right, mate, over to the fans.
Over to Jacko's, come in for a few words of encouragement.
And he walks in there, he's like, fucking what were you doing, Mason? Weak as piss. And he's going around the room. I wonder how much you could charge for that experience.
Oh, man. I mean, you can charge whatever you want, but good luck getting out of those rooms. If some dude's teeing off in front of me, I'd be like, yo, homie.
Maybe
ain't gonna be pretty walking out there. No cameras inside the team room. I'll tell you that. That's gonna benefit us.
It would have to be a bit of a revenue share model where the players get a little bit of kickback for just sitting there and copping it from Jacko that's 20 pots deep.
Well, they had what was it? Dave Hughes used to come in and give a spray to the boys, and it was that was something they used to do back in the day. But it was always kind of like a bit. He was asking some players for some beef, and something to kind of throw at some players and whatnot. And he was funny, though. He's a good fella. But, yeah, I'd go 5K. You go 5K?
5K,
and they'd be shitting themselves walking in the door.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to tee off properly. And if they did tee off properly, it'd get to the point where everyone just started laughing, didn't care.
Yeah, there's no way that they could, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was
Melbourne 5K, I reckon.
Quite hilarious. So we all seen the videos where they're coming from the ground, they're getting absolutely berated, booed. Yeah. People are shouting out all kinds of obscenities and stupid things. Obviously, we don't condone that.
Yep.
But, what effect does that have on a player? I can't imagine you're going to roll out there and go I can't wait to, play another game for these fans that are just, absolutely giving it to me.
As someone that's been booed many a times in his life... I'll give you a little nugget of advice there, Brayden. It's not ideal. You want obviously it to be kind of like this community feel of us trying to reach this goal together, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you leave the field and people are berating you and saying you suck and everything else, it's well, that's not helping the situation, it's only making it worse. So I understand people can get caught up in the emotions of the game, what's happened, and all that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you have to realize that if you want a team to be successful, you need to support them when times are rough. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get through that and out the other end to hopefully have success. So to the fans that are out there booing there, look, I get it. You're upset. Understandable. But if you want your team to play finals, you want your team to be well, provide support rather than be very critical.
We did talk about this last year when Carlton got booed from the ground, heading into the bye period. We're getting absolutely berated, and then they turned their season around. So I'm still on the fence about whether booing doesn't work. I think maybe if we keep our mind open to it,
Brayden, go on.
Hey, well, it worked for Carlton. They made it all the way to the prelim.
Wait, have you been booing the Carlton Football Club for the last 4 games? Is that you that I keep hearing in the crowd?
I just go just to boo. Mason, you suck. And you're like, you're sitting in the stands.
I work with you.
That's been me all this time.
How many VBs you had today, Brayden? Calm down.
Just warming up.
Warming up.
Jump into the Carlton game because they are also big losers, although they are still up high up there on the ladder. It's just a question that everyone has now around Carlton's defence and whether that can take them all the way through finals. Because I feel like their crowd, we saw it last year, will give them a kick. It gives them that adrenaline rush.
Quite a few fans, yep.
But yeah, they're currently sitting, I believe it's second for scores for and somewhere around 14th for scores against.
Yeah, okay.
Heading into finals, no other team like up the top of the ladder is dealing with those kinds of numbers. Can they just absolutely staunch their way through it and just kick 120 to 100? Or is it going to be a problem come finals? Because what do we normally see in finals, Mace? We see scores shrink, defense gets tighter, defense wins premierships.
It's very, very true. I'm not really too sure exactly. We'll go through it obviously with playing Carlton this week, but I think a lot of it people don't realize, like, whenever they say like defenses are struggling or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, okay, like let's blame this person, the key defender or the most known person in the back line. Then you kind of think, okay, well, if you really break it down further, it's like, well, how is it getting there? Is it, something breaking down further up the field? Is it something where they're not keeping in the forward 50 as much? Like, I think there's a lot more that goes to that number that people don't realize. They just go, oh, all right, you're not going so well here. We're gonna pot you for this. But there's probably other things happening that are leading to that, I would say, probably, than just blaming it on one person. But yeah, I think, like you said, whenever you get to finals, though, like they definitely want to figure out kind of where it's all kind of happening and make sure they have a locked-in idea of how they're going to want to set up their defense and make sure that they're all connected and on the same page going into a finals campaign. I think that's a very important thing, and not only just from the back line, but like as a team and collective, you want to make sure that the game plan is crystal clear before you go out and do a finals campaign, because you don't want to be sitting there trying to fix things and realize this is the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. And there's only a few games for them to turn it around and try some new things and change it up, because you want that consistency heading into finals. The lack of TDK, how much impact do you reckon that's having on Carlton?
Yeah, he's been a staple for a while. He's a fantastic player. Airleys, he has been massive for them, obviously playing in the ruck quite a bit more. Pitney over the weekend went pretty well, and playing against Port Adelaide. But I think he's one of those players now. They look at players that can change the game, and he's one of those. And he will come back. Like he's not done for the season, so he will come back, and that'll be a massive kind of boost for them. But yeah, I mean, Robbie Williams, I heard he was crying in his bed last week just because TDK hadn't been in. But it's a credit to him because he's a gun player. Like, he's really good, and he knows what he's doing. I think they've kind of, galvanized around him, that midfield and stuff like that. So, to have familiar faces in there in the coalface is definitely something you want. And like we said last week, this is a massive opportunity for Pitney to be able to try to submit himself and solidify himself into what will be a finals campaign for them, and to him be a part of that more than anything over these next few weeks. So we'll see kind of how it pans out. But yeah, definitely TDK, you want him in the squad of your best 23.
Yeah. Any of those, any of the De Konings. Have some more of De Konings. Sydney, we'll just mention them, probably the last one, because last week Horse was asked whether he hits the panic button, and he kind of chortled and said it's not really time to hit the panic button. And then Bulldogs went up to Sydney and schooled them on their home deck. So is it time for Sydney, who have lost 4 out of their last 5, to start panicking because there's only 4 weeks heading into finals?
Well, 3 of those 4 losses were like less than 5 points.
Correct.
So they've been in close games. The Brisbane loss was one. I think they lost by like 2 points, and a few others. So yeah, like you want to have those wins, obviously, and then you got, was it Paps is out for another 4 to 5 weeks, and Rampy's out, I think, another week with a calf or something like that. I don't think it's panic stations. Like, there's still 4 games left in the season. Like, all you need is, I think, 1 or 2 good games to feel like you're in form, right? But yeah, I don't think it's panic station. I hate panic stations. I hate that word and the red button and all that kind of stuff.
It's very graphic.
It's very graphic, yeah. It's real nuclear codes, press the button type scenario, isn't it? But I think like they went up against, obviously the Bulldogs are in form, playing really well.
Yeah.
Not ideal. Home crowd, always tough to lose in front of a home crowd. I think what they need more than anything is just like, hey, let's just go back to basics. Let's remember what we do really well, and let's just execute and just hone in on that, and that will put us in a good stead for the rest of the year. It's
going to be interesting because they have lost to teams that are primed for finals, and they're getting teams that are, on the way up and finding form in the run into finals, and they're losing. So
it's been a good challenge for them.
It's been a good challenge, and we'll see where it leads them to. So, yeah, I don't know. We might panic stations next week if they go to Adelaide and Port wipe the floor with them. Interesting. It's going to be another tough game. But they're all tough when you make finals, Mace, as you can attest to. Big finals player over there.
Calm down.
Let's jump into Collingwood's game because it was all about one man, and it'll be about it'll be a one man.
What?
It'll be a one man next week. Mason Cox. They actually had you on Mason Cox Watch on Triple M. I was driving my car, and they were like
Cox Watch.
Yeah, Cox Watch. They were different one, but they kept going. True man, give us Coxie's numbers, and then he'd say like,
what?
Oh, he's had 1 touch, 2 touches.
Was that actually something they did?
Yeah, they kept bringing it up.
Oh, shit,
but they were pretty happy. I reckon for me, whenever you get to double digits, I'm like, fuck, he's had a big game.
He's got smacked a few times.
He's been around it a lot. Because if you're having 10, that means you've been around it all day.
6 clearances on the day. That was pretty big for me. I looked up the scoreboard, and I think I was number 2 on clearances for the day. I was like, 6 clearances, 6 touches, baby. Let's go.
That's what they were saying. It was like, he's had 7 touches for 6 clearances. I'm like, he's a machine.
He's a machine out of the middle.
Tell us about it. How'd you feel going out there for the first time? We'll do the pre, during, and post. So how'd you feel running out there for the first time in quite a number of weeks?
Yeah, it felt pretty good. It was, you kind of miss that experience of being at the MCG and playing in front of big crowds. And, obviously I think another thing is, like, there's so many guys that you've played with for so long, and then whenever you don't see them going well, or like we lose a few games, you're kind of like, oh man, like I want to help. Like I want to do something to be able to help, and you can only do so much from the sidelines, where whenever you're on the field, you really do feel that connection with people and like celebrating people kicking goals. Like I felt really shit whenever Dan McStay kicked his first goal, and I couldn't celebrate with him on the field. I was like, man, I just want to be there to give him like a big hug after all that he's done. And it's those kind of moments where you're like, man, I wish I was a part of that, and it was good to get back out there and be able to celebrate with everyone else and, get a win on the board more than anything to try to find some form. So, it was good. I got through the game, all good.
Any good moments when you were out there?
Any good moments?
Any moments that stood out to you that were, I don't know, people like the funny stuff. There's a few like forward 50s that we got goals out of, and like I love, and like center bounces too. It's like I love whenever we get a midfielder just like straight hit out, straight to chest, burst through stoppage, handball goal. Yeah.
Like, and it just looks silky smooth. Like there's one Jamie Elliott, like I think I screwed something up. We got like a ball up after, and he's sitting there and like I hit the ball to him. He's bursting through the stoppage. Bang! Gives the Pendles over to Will Hoskin Elliott. Joe the Goose out the back, and he kicks one from the goal. And it's like once Pendles gave to Will Hoskin Elliott, like as soon as the ball was in the air, I was already celebrating with Jamie. It was kind of one of those things of like, man, that's sick. I love that. And then there's other ones where you get an offhand hit that's out the back, and Nick Dacos comes streaming out the middle with like no one touching him. You're like, hell yeah, it looks silky smooth. That's the ones I enjoy the most, I think. Or taking like a big mark and, completely shanking kicks and stuff.
I saw that one. Who did you take that mark in front of? It was like Bobby or something.
Bobby tried to take a hanger, and I didn't even realize it until today whenever I looked at the vision. I was like, oh, that's why everyone was like all excited. I was like, wasn't really that cool of a mark. Just what is going on? Couldn't see what was going on behind me, but really Bobby's trying to take hangers on everyone. He did take one during the game. Jamie took one too.
Yeah, which is crazy. Bobby on someone's shoulders is your height. With your arms up.
Well, I tell Bobby all the time, I was like, if you take a hanger on me, man, and it becomes a poster, I'm going to be filthy.
I don't know.
I'll probably hang out in my room. I'll be pissed at the same time. I'll be like, man, come on, bro.
And what about Jamie Elliott's comeback? Because I read in the Jay-Z article on the weekend that like how serious his incident was, the blood clotting in his foot, and he said like his foot would go completely numb, pins and needles, it would turn white. It happened for like a little period of time before, and just something like that. You've been through things like that where you're a pretty rare case and they're trying to figure out what's going on and what's going wrong and trying to fix it on the fly. That, he said, that was more scary than any of his other injuries because most of the time it's like if you break a leg, you know what you have to do to fix it. With stuff like that, you don't know how to fix it. You got to figure it out, and then you don't know. It's all of the unknowns that really play in your mind.
I mean, that's definitely it. It's what you're scared of what you don't know, right? And there's something wrong, but you just have no idea how to fix it. Is probably like the worst bit. So, and it's kind of like out of his control. It's just like something that's happening in his body, and we kind of somehow think that athletes don't have these medical conditions that just happen to normal everyday people, and like they do happen, but sometimes they go. They're not told publicly or something like that, and I can imagine that would have been a pretty scary experience for him. He was out for a fair amount of weeks. I don't think people now looking at him like, oh yeah, he's back. Like he's been back forever, like kind of thing. But it's like he's out for multiple weeks. And it's always tough, I think, to not know the solution to what's going on. I mean, I think there's that, and then there's also just essentially not being able to do anything about it, right? Like it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, and I'm not sure the details of what he was having to go through and stuff like that, but the unknown is definitely the most stressful bit because as an athlete, you just go, okay, I've got this mindset. The problem is this. The solution is this. Tell me the steps to get there. And it's like very meticulous of like, this week I should be doing this. This week I should be able to accomplish this. I should be doing change of direction this week. I should be doing squats this week. And it's like you have little goals along the way.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't have an idea of what that future and that process looks like, you really kind of struggle with like, okay, what is my time frame? How long is this going to take? What are we doing? Like, there's so many questions that go into it that you just don't have the answers for. That's probably the part that is not easy to like pill to swallow. But yeah, he's killing it now. Credit to him. He's back, playing as good as ever as always, and he's someone I enjoy to have, behind me doing whatever he's doing because, he just leave him out the back and leave him in the paddock. He'll kick a goal and I'm sitting there just going, woo, go Jamie.
He did that one where he picked up Bobby's shank kick, ran past someone and snapped it so clean. But he said, it's a crazy article for those that haven't seen it. Jay Clark's Herald Sun article, but basically had to go into his foot, like push in this stuff to break down the blood clots. And he still said he doesn't have 100% power in it, and it's his leaping leg. So if he's still out there taking hangers and he's not at 100%, jeepers.
He is also bodying guys and let Dan come across over the weekend.
You're filthy when that happens. It was
perfect body work, everything else. Just looking for the chest mark on the other side. Dan just floats over the front of him and goes, I'll have that.
He was so ready.
He's just like, alrighty then.
But we will move into this one because it is an amazing accomplishment. Scott Pendlebury has pretty much
happening this week.
He's pretty much done it all in the game.
What's happening?
Did
he play basketball growing up?
Playing his 400th game this.
400.
Yeah, 400.
Oh my god.
He's had four times the amount of games that you've had.
125 I've had, so he's not yet to 500. Calm down.
He was getting there. I actually listened back to a podcast that when we were doing it together, just before his 300th game, and I took the piss and said, we're on the road to 400. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah.
He's
like, I know.
He literally says after that, he's like, yeah, we should do a docker. He's picked it out. He will sell anything. He's selling his wine. He's selling his canvas. He's selling his...
raking in, dude. He's raking in the dough at the moment. As he would.
His house is like a Miami villa or something. That's wild. He lives
Bayside, like very South Bayside.
Tennis court, basket. Anyway.
Must be nice.
We got to say some nice stuff about him.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Scott Pendlebury playing 400th game this weekend. A massive accomplishment. Like, a rare as accomplishment. You think of like, it's got to be less than, 2% of people that have done it. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. And we will be thinking about it a lot because it's everywhere this week.
Yeah.
What's the club doing? How are you Are you spending each day walking past the Scott Pendlebury Shrine and paying homage, or how's it all work on the inside of the club?
One of those candles instant things. It's kind of weird because we haven't really celebrated it yet. Obviously, like we're kind of reviewing the Richmond game at the moment, but I think once we get past that, we'll definitely look to the Carlton game, which is a big game within itself, right, in the grand scheme of our season, but also in the celebration of his career and what he's done for not only accomplishing that, but like what he's given to the fans and like how long he's been there and his professionalism and what he's given to other players and coaches and staff and everything else throughout his career. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, 400, very unique experience. I mean, what is it? He's probably been chaired off 6 times in his career, 7 times, something like that. Like it just kind of get old after a while. But it's an incredible accomplishment. I mean, obviously he'll get all the laudits that he deserves this week, and we're extremely excited for him. And to play against a big rival on that day and stuff, it just kind of adds to the whole spectacle. And everyone has got all these words to say about him, and he's a professional. He's just always just says the right thing, does the right thing. And it's true. It's really true. It's actually kind of annoying how good he is at being a football player. Whatever shit people like me are playing. But no, seriously, he's an absolute legend. He'll go down as probably the best Collingwood player to ever play. I can say that pretty comfortably. And it's something that I'll look at some point talking to my grandkids and probably be like, yeah, I used to play with that guy.
Yeah.
He would sit there and without me giving the hit outs to him, you just never know. Yeah. No, but it is credit to him. He's an incredible player, incredible man, and something I'm extremely proud to essentially had some small part existence in his career that's been such a historic, experience for him.
You can definitely see how he got there. Like he's always the most professional. He's got his sauna and spa at his house. He's always really logical to the point that it's annoying. He's like a sponge. He just absorbs everything. And it's not only in footy, like in business and life and everything. He's just always learning and absorbing. I think I've said on the podcast before, but like in my last game at the club when we had the podcast together, it's cool seeing it because it still gets rolled out now in his highlights packages. But he asked me if I wanted a celebration for my last game, and I didn't think he was going to kick a goal. Yeah. But I said a couple of ones that were a bit more obscure, and we landed on the headphones for the podcast. And he did. He kicked a goal. Geordie was the first to him to give him a high 10, and he snubbed him just to do the headphones. And it's always, a cool moment to look back on that because, it's like those moments are etched in time forever. So it's like he would have had that effect on so many people over a 400-game journey, whether it's like the one-game player that he laced out for his first goal or yourself or, Steele that he's been alongside with and Howie and all of those guys. But it's, the baton always gets passed on. It was Bucks that kicked Pendles his first kick to have his first shot at goal. And it's pretty special, but 400 games it's hard to fathom. I think I would have been close to high school, I think, when he got drafted. Yeah. Now, my high school has been demolished because it had asbestos in it. So, my school doesn't exist anymore, and Pendles is still running out there week in, week out. Congratulations to the big fella. So many moments that he's given the footy club. Even last year, stepping up in that grand final, kicking that pivotal goal. He was the conductor out there just, pointing, telling everyone where to go. The final stoppage that kind of got centre bounce that got Geordie to kick his goal. Yeah. All of those things. It's incredible to watch him. And we hope he keeps going, but he is going on next year. He said that he has a contract for 2025, which is quite amazing. And I still think that that's pending and I feel he does his own deals too. So the amount of money that he would have saved over 400 games on a manager doing those deals, he's a smart man. He's a very smart man. Now, I'll bring this up. Ed Allen kicked a 90-metre goal in the VFL on the weekend. Wild. It was from...
Pissing down, right?
I reckon it was just the other side of the centre circle. It was wild.
Over at Punt Road, Reminds me of Rupert Wills did it
Yeah.
in Ballarat, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was legit from one forward, like the edge of the forward, edge of the defensive 50. He kicked a goal from there and it just sailed.
Yeah.
I've never seen a ball go further in my life. And then skid. And it stopped maybe like 2 or 3 meters over the line. It was insane.
Yeah,
this reminds me of that.
I actually remember that one. Yeah. And if you get a good day in Ballarat where the wind's humming quite right, you probably kick 150.
That's it.
Now you tell me about this bloke because 55 hitouts is quite a lot.
Elliott Smith, he's a mid-season draft pick by us. Ruckman, big fella. He got South African heritage. Love that. Really nice man. Had an incredible game over the weekend, 55 hitouts. He's a plumber.
He's already a plumber.
He's a plumber already, man. He's been in the system for about 3 months. So it's a pretty good hit-out ratio, I would say.
Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, no, he's a really, really good player. I'm excited to kind of see what his future is going to be at the club.
Good hops.
Great hops. And yeah, he very much reminds me whenever I was young and like very raw,
Could leave the ground.
Leave the ground and didn't get sat on all day. But no, he's an incredible player. I'm excited to see kind of him blossom over the next few years. And
how do you help those guys? I think it's an
absolute steal we got in the mid-season draft.
How do you help them develop the young guys coming through? Is that a little passion of yours?
Yeah, I'm actually just finished my level 2 coaching, finishing that this year. So I think doing some like ruck stuff and like aerial stuff and some things around the ground definitely is something I'm interested in. I like to kind of try to help him out a bit, and he asks the questions. I think that's a big thing whenever you're a young player is ask as many questions as you can, be a sponge and soak it all up. With ruck stuff, obviously, it just takes a bit of repetition. It takes a bit of, just knowing what to do, almost having to, first consciously understand what's going on to the point where whenever you get to a stoppage and stuff, you're subconsciously not even really having to think. You're just going, yep, cool, I know what to do. Like, this is the situation. This is how I manipulate. This is where I'm best at, all that kind of stuff. So it does take time, but I think with a bit of guidance and stuff, you can really fast track that. So hopefully I can kind of help him and some of the other rucks out in that sense. And, I just wanted to give him a little shout out, 55 hitouts over the weekend, and he played a pretty good game.
Let's go. That's a Mario.
What the hell was that from?
He's a plumber. Let's go.
It was just like a random Mario. Anyway, all right, Brayden.
I want to ask one more and just give me a quick answer on this one. If you didn't have to tap it where you have to tap it, so you have where you got to tap it to, could you just win all the ruck taps? Like, is that the hard part? Because I remember I watched your first game in Bendigo against Carlton.
Yeah.
And we clipped up a clip about it. Yeah. And you were getting every hit out. But I imagine you're probably just hitting it every wrong place.
Yeah, I probably didn't understand everyone has it's red, yellow, green, or 1, 2, 3, 4s, or 12, 9, 6, 3s, or whatever the hell it is for your hit sounds. I think at that point I was maybe a month into knowing what football was.
Yeah. And just tap it. If I can tap it.
He's just hit it in that direction, sir. And I'm all right, cool. Sounds good, bruh. I think I was playing Liam Jones or something on the rock. You have to look that one up, but yeah.
That's when you didn't know who Juddy was. That's a good one.
Yeah, number 5. Guy, really nice guy. A lot of tape. A lot of tape on his shoulders.
Let's look at the previews in the week ahead because you stuffed up your cock lock last week.
Huge. I was going to try to get away with it, but no chance. Yep. Sorry. So we're moving to previews. Yep.
We're going into Bulldogs v Melbourne at Marvel.
Yep.
I got to lock in the Bulldogs for this one because they're in just red hot form.
Oh, Maxi Gall might be back this week.
He was back last week.
Is he?
Yep.
There we go. Oh, Melbourne still lost. Western Bulldogs for me. I've got them winning.
We go back to the West for the West Coast versus the Gold Coast at Optus. So they dropped their first home game. Can they win their first away game?
I'm so upset we dropped our first home game.
This is actually really hard to pick this one.
I'm going West Coast. I know it's it's terrible to say. I'm sorry, Dimma. I'm sorry, man. I just, it really hit me hard last week. I had a little bit of a cry. And
to be fair, I don't think Dimma is expecting an apology. He's that's probably fair. I've seen
who's Mason Cox?
I've seen his post-match press conferences, and he's just what the fuck was that? What are we doing? Anyway, I am also going West Coast. If they dish up what they did against Freo, it was good up until the second half. So
Gold Coast has essentially win the next 4. They're a bit like us right now. We have to win quite a bit in the last chunk of the season to make finals.
There's not enough spaces. Anyway, we go into this North v Richmond game because this is really important now. down the bottom of the ladder.
Actually, it's really important now to think about it.
You could lose a pick on this.
Yeah, you could lose Harley Reid off this, couldn't you?
You could. The pressure's massive. Are you throwing this one, Mason?
I would never throw a game as a coach for a club to get a number 1 draft pick. Wink, wink.
They put a big picture of Harley Reid up in the locker and it's like, if you lose, you get this bloke next week.
Can you imagine? You know how you have like the signs on the sideline? It's like you're up by 5 and you're going, nope, let's do the Harley Reid. What's that? Just let him go. Just let him go through the middle. Let him kick the next goal.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Now I know that Richmond needs that. Richmond needs that number 1 draft pick more than North. North are fine.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say North Melbourne win this one.
Yeah, they got a better spine. They got more young talent. Sheasel's killing it. They got Larky's
so many injuries too, though. Like it's rough.
But yeah, rough. Richmond just coming off 3 flags. They're good. They can suck. They can suck for a bit. North have sucked for a long time. Let them get good. Geelong versus Adelaide. GMHBA. Oh yeah, I'm saying North. Yeah. Geelong versus Adelaide. I'm going Geelong on this one. This was a pretty easy one for me.
I'd say it's an easy call. Geelong to win at home.
I think it's just reflection. Adelaide beat Essendon at home last week. That's wild. Anyway, let's not harp on that for Essendon fans. Essendon fans, I'll tell you, don't listen to Katy Perry in the car on the way home. Collingwood versus...
might make them feel a bit better about their life.
Collingwood versus Carlton at the MCG. Massive clash. Pendles aside. That's obviously a massive thing for the club and for Pendles. Massive history in this game. And... lots of hatred? Do you still
I'd say our fans hate each other. Yeah, that's probably pretty
If
easy
you had to pick out one of their players that you hate the most, who would it be?
I'm not doing that, bro.
But that's going to be a big one. I'll say Collingwood will win that one. Unfortunately, that scores against isn't great for Collingwood either. Port v Sydney, Adelaide Oval. Far out.
I've got Port winning this.
Yeah, same.
I want Sydney to win, but I've got Port winning.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Now that's panic station. You can't win. You can't lose, 5 of the last 6?
I don't know.
It's just wild to me that they're still a game and a half clear on top of the ladder after losing 4 of the last 5.
There was a real chunk between them and the rest of the ladder for a long time.
Crazy. This year, I'm telling you.
Come on.
Port. Port.
Wow, we're both going Port in that one.
GWS Hawthorn in Canberra. That's a crazy good game. And I never thought I'd say it because, I don't know, 2 pretty not popular teams. Not the most popular teams, not the biggest fan bases. You take 2 teams
Did you not see the GWS versus Melbourne game?
You take 2 of the teams with the lowest fan base and then you put them in Canberra and say, go for it. Oh, my goodness. I'm saying that's one of the games of the round.
Yeah.
Things that I thought I wouldn't ever say.
Yeah. Credit to both of them now because I think people question them throughout the year and they've come good at the right time.
Yeah. So I think GWS will win because I feel like the pressure will start coming for Hawthorn. But I don't know.
Stuff it. Hawthorn's going to win this one. I've got it. Lock it in.
All right. That's such a good game. That's the game. That and the Port Sydney games. It's hard to pick a game of the round, and I haven't picked my cocklock yet. Have you? No,
I might have to. Let's go. Keep going. Essendon versus Freo at the MCG. Freo travels over to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Essendon needing a W, needing to get back on their winning streaks.
I still feel like Freo wins this.
I've got Freo too.
Yeah.
I think this is, this is interesting if you're an Essendon supporter. You'd be definitely circling this one going,
well, at least
we need
if you lose
get
to
a dub.
Freo in the top 4. Like,
sure,
Saints aren't. Anyway, it is a away game, so a home game for. Is it really? Because it's at the G. Oh, this has got danger signs written all over it. This is disgusting. I'm so sorry, Essendon fans.
I want to piss off some Essendon fans too. Yeah. I want to lock that in. It's the cock lock of the week, baby. You.
That's wild, dude. This is bad for them. Anyway, that opens up that last spot in the 8, which Collingwood desperately need anyway. So you are going for Freo. St Kilda, Brisbane. Shit, I didn't really. Can I look back? There are some others I should give it to.
I'll let you review your decision making. Surely you got...
No, like Geelong is, but I'm not doing that. I'm going North over Richmond.
Wow, okay.
Just
Love
because
that.
it's a bit closer. And then in this game, I'm picking Brizzy at Marvel against St Kilda, but Ross the boss did say that he likes playing the Grinch and he wants to ruin a few teams on the way home. And he just did it to Essendon. Can they do it to Brisbane, mate?
Yo, I'm going to throw a little wrench in here. I'm going to go St Kilda. At Marvel. Yep, Harold.
Ross the boss.
Good stuff, boy.
That's a massive one, but that's an exciting weekend of footy with big repercussions.
That is wild. It's just like we're getting to the end of the year and like every game matters so much. We always say it every year, but like I feel like this ladder is just so stressful for so many people.
Everyone's out there doing ladder predictors. I know I've done them, and I wouldn't be as passionate as, some others. Jacko, for instance, is going to give the spray. I will say this, just before you wrap up, we did beg everyone to leave Spotify comments.
Yeah.
Turns out that it hasn't rolled out to everyone. The ability to leave comments. We did get
You're the
one
tech guy, Brayden. Come on.
We did get one comment because we got a message from Spotify saying, "Hey, comments are here. Get everyone to comment." So we did. And then there's like, "Oh, hang on, reel that in a bit."
We weren't really ready.
Like some people have it, and one person said that our cover art for last week was really good, which is the crying. We were crying.
That's very kind of
I got your fringe and I extended the fringe down so it went full emo. And then I put you in a My Chemical Romance t-shirt.
Oh, Brayden. Great songs though they got. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, I'm gonna, if we're doing shout outs and stuff or like trying to source some stuff out, I kind of saw a little memory pop up, and I want to give a shout out to this person. I hope they're still listening to this podcast. But
Eric the Eel.
No, there was someone who lives in Africa that ordered our t-shirt. Yeah. And our t-shirts are still available and stuff like that. Yes, go check it out. It's on our link tree. There's someone from Africa that ordered it, and I'm not sure if we've actually given them a shout out of how cool that is. And that was
like
a real
humbling. Or something in the background.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Wow. It was a real humbling moment to have someone that's like doing some amazing stuff over in Africa in some capacity, wherever it might be, and to have listenership across the world like that. Like that was a cool moment. It stuck in my head, and I thought we talked about it, but I was like, maybe we haven't. So hopefully I'm doubling up on this, but I just want to shout that person out.
Some of those are good. We had some good pictures from some people take photos of people sneakily at the games and send them through to me. Like it'll be like some bloke buying a beer at the concession stand. Someone will take a photo of him wearing the jumper.
Buying a Brayden?
Yeah.
Little VB?
Yeah, see? Don't mind that. Little short and fat.
Oh, wow. I think we're going to end on that one. That's good. That's a good little one. A little stubby. Yeah. Is that what they call it, a stubby?
Stubby cocks, yeah.
I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. Anyway, that's it for the podcast today. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you've got a laugh. I think I've laughed more on this podcast than I have on any other podcast we've done.
We got to go fact check if Eric the Eel is still kicking.
Dude. This guy is...
He's dead. We're 0 from 2.
We're 0 from 2. We should really start listening.
Don't look up the Thunder guy, the guy that got struck by lightning.
Move on. Not Thunder, it was lightning. Don't give more details, Mason. Come on. All right, that is it from us today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, check out all the socials we do hard work with. And massive thank you for being part of the community. Have an incredible week ahead. All the best for the footy tipping over the weekend. And let's get the dub. See ya.